Before the show starts, drop a comment below with where you're watching from, then sit back, relax, and get ready for some chilling stories. The first call came in at 3:47 a.m. Single vehicle accident off Route 22A, near exit 41. I was already awake. Insomnia was a constant companion back then, so I responded immediately. I knew that stretch well. Narrow shoulder, thick woods, no lighting. Accidents there weren't rare, but something about this one felt different from the moment I stepped out of the cruiser. The car, a blue Toyota Camry, had veered off the road and hit a tree sideways. Not head-on, not rear-ended. Like it had been pushed or pulled. The airbags deployed. Front end crumpled. The driver's side door was ajar, and a woman was slumped over the steering wheel. Late 30s. No visible injuries. Breathing but barely conscious. I called for medics and did a quick sweep. Something caught my attention almost immediately, the back seat. One seatbelt buckled, the strap pulled tight and worn, as if recently occupied. But there was no one there. And here's the part that still sits wrong. The seat was warm. The woman, whose name I later learned was Claire Wendell, regained consciousness at the hospital hours later. I was there. She was confused, disoriented. Kept asking the same thing. Where's Lily? I asked who Lily was. She blinked hard, like I'd just asked her if water was wet. My daughter, she said. She was right behind me. I told her to hold on. But Claire didn't have a daughter. No record of any child. No family photos in her wallet. No toys in the car. No booster seat. No second toothbrush at home. I checked it all. She lived alone, had for years. Her neighbors confirmed it. One even swore Claire didn't like kids. Never had visitors. No one had ever seen her with a child. But she insisted. And that's when the first note appeared. It was waiting for me at my desk the next morning. A folded piece of paper with a child's drawing, stick figures, a red car, a tree, and the words, "I'm still here," scrawled across the bottom in crayon. No fingerprints. No return address. Just that. I chalked it up to a prank. Maybe someone on the force thought it was funny. But then came the second one. This time, slid under the windshield wiper of my car while I was off duty. Another drawing. A girl with brown hair standing beside a road sign, exit 41. I went back to the scene. Nothing had changed. The tire tracks were still there, half erased by weather. The broken branches, the disturbed grass. I walked the tree line, searching for any trace of another person. No footprints. No torn fabric. No discarded items. But I kept thinking about that seatbelt. It didn't buckle itself. I pulled the incident report from the archives just to be thorough. No anomalies. No skid marks beyond what we already noted. No animal strike. The mechanic confirmed the brakes and steering were fully functional. Claire wasn't drunk, wasn't high, wasn't on any medication that could explain hallucinations. Just a clean crash. But her story never changed. Lily was in the back seat, strapped in, and vanished. When I brought this up to my supervisor, he gave me the off-the-record speech. Suggested stress, delusion, trauma response. I didn't argue, but I didn't stop thinking about it either. 2 weeks later, I got another envelope. No return address, postmarked from Brattleboro. Inside was a black and white photo, blurry and grainy like it was shot on film. A field. Tree line in the back. Nothing obvious until I squinted. In the bottom left corner, behind a brush of grass, was a shape. Small, vaguely human, like a child standing just out of focus. On the back of the photo, in the same handwriting from the drawings, were 4 words. Look closer at exit 41. So I did. I spent my next day off walking the area beyond the tree line, maybe half a mile in. That's when I found the fence, old, rusted, and almost completely swallowed by overgrowth. Past it was a clearing, barely visible unless you were standing right over it. The grass had been flattened in spots, and there were small stones arranged in a crude circle. In the center, half buried, I found what looked like a charm bracelet. Faded pink beads, one of them shaped like a letter L. Forensics couldn't match it to anyone. No fingerprints, no blood, but it looked old, like it had been there for years. I brought it to Claire, not officially, just as a man hoping for a thread of truth. When I showed it to her, she didn't speak. She just started crying. The first real emotion I'd seen from her. That was hers, she whispered. She used to call it her lucky bracelet. That's when I started digging deeper, not just into Claire, but into that exit, into that stretch of highway. And that's when I found her. Not Lily, another woman, Laura Densmore. In 1993, she crashed in almost the exact same spot. Same time of night, same type of vehicle. Said she was traveling with her daughter. No child was ever found. Laura was institutionalized 2 months later after multiple breakdowns. Claimed she still heard her daughter's voice on the radio. Said she would see her in reflections. That case? Buried. No connection ever made. Until now. When I brought it to the department, they shut it down immediately. No formal connection. No evidence. Just my gut, and a trail of drawings, whispers, and the quiet feeling that something was watching from just beyond the trees. Claire disappeared 6 months later. Packed up. Quit her job. No forwarding address. No credit activity. Just gone. A year after that, I got one last note. It came without a stamp, left directly in my mailbox. Another photo. Same field. This time, a small figure in a white dress. Not blurry. Not distorted. Staring straight at the camera. Her face half lit by the sun. And on the back, she's still waiting. The call came in on a rainy night in early November, 1998. Dispatch said it was a 911, third one that week, from the same address, 712 East Monroe Avenue. That street had been quiet for years, but what caught my attention was what the dispatcher told me next. It's always the same voice. Sounds like a kid. I drove out there with low expectations. Probably a glitch, or some kids screwing around with a radio. But I still remember the way the house looked as I pulled up. 2 stories, gray siding peeling off, windows boarded up on the second floor. A for sale sign tilted into the ground like it had given up. Porch light long gone. But the front door? Wide open. I called for backup, but no one was close. It was a quiet night, too quiet. I went in alone. The inside was exactly what you'd expect from a place left to rot. Dust thick enough to coat your boots. Cobwebs hanging like old curtains. Smell of mildew, copper, and something else I couldn't place. I cleared the first floor room by room. Nothing. Furniture gone. Wallpaper torn in places. One of the kitchen chairs was lying on its side, like someone had left in a hurry. But the basement door was shut. Not locked. Not jammed. Just shut. Like it had been that way a long time. I opened it. The stairs creaked with every step. The air changed halfway down, heavier, colder, like I'd just walked underwater. I reached the bottom and swept the flashlight across the room. Concrete floor. Water stains. A single wooden table, broken at the edge. No windows. No doors. But in the corner was a phone. An old rotary model. Beige. Dusty. Disconnected. Cord cut. And still it rang. Not loud. Not sharp. Just a soft, dull trill. Over and over. It stopped as I stepped closer. I didn't touch it. Didn't have to. I knew what it meant. That night, I filed my report. Said the house was empty. Said the line must have been crossed with something else in the system. That's what I wrote. But I didn't believe it. Next day, I went to the records department. Asked who used to live there. Took some digging, but eventually I found her, Dana Rourke. Lived there with her son, Elijah. No husband. No other family. Moved in 1992. In 1995, Elijah went missing. From the basement, there was no forced entry. No signs of struggle. Just a child's voice on a 911 call saying, "Please help, he's in the dark with me." Police searched every inch of that house. Never found him. Dana was institutionalized a few months later after repeating the same phrase over and over. He never left the basement. I listened to the original 911 call from 1995. Grainy, warped by time, but clear enough to catch the essentials. A child's voice, maybe 6 or 7 years old, whispering, "He's down here. He won't let me go. Please don't hang up." The line cut out with what sounded like heavy breathing and water dripping in the background. Same sound I heard when I was in that basement. For weeks, I pushed deeper into the case. The number that triggered the 911 calls was listed as disconnected since 1996. I double-checked with the phone company. They confirmed, no active service, no power, no reason that line should have worked. But the dispatcher logs didn't lie. Always around 3:04 a.m. Always the same location. And always the same voice. The third week after the first call, I got one myself. On my personal phone. Unknown number. Rang once and stopped. When I picked it up, nothing. Just silence. No static. No breathing. Just long, empty quiet, like the call wasn't coming from anywhere. It happened again the next night. And the next. Same time. 3:04 a.m. On the fourth night, I answered and stayed on the line. 26 seconds in, I heard it. A soft inhale. Like a kid trying not to cry. Then the whisper, still here. Click. The signal cut completely. I checked my call log, it was blank. No history. I asked the phone company to trace the last 5 calls I'd received. They came back with a single word, unavailable. I went back to the house. This time I didn't call it in. Just parked across the street and watched. Around 2:55 a.m., I saw a light flicker in the basement window, even though the place hadn't had electricity for years. I crossed the street and forced the front door. It groaned open like it hadn't moved in ages. The air was heavy again, same as before. But this time, when I opened the basement door, the phone was ringing. I walked down slowly, each step like it was being swallowed in concrete. The air got thicker with every breath. I reached the bottom and stared at that damn phone. Still beige. Still dusty. Still disconnected. Still ringing. So I answered. There was no voice. Just the sound of footsteps running. Not toward me. Away. And then, a distant splash. Water. I tried to trace it. I scanned the walls, the floor, even tapped the concrete, looking for hidden doors, drains, anything. Found nothing. When I came back upstairs, the front door was closed. I hadn't touched it. A week later, I was pulled off the case. Official explanation, misuse of resources, mental fatigue, time off strongly recommended. But I knew it was more than that. Someone higher up had shut the file. They didn't want answers. They wanted silence. I tried to let it go. I really did. But here's what never stopped. Clocks. Every digital clock in my house started malfunctioning. My phone would lose track of time. My wristwatch would freeze every 48 hours. Never sooner. Never later. Just stop. And the calls? They still come. Sometimes I hear breathing. Sometimes a splash. And sometimes not often, but just enough. I hear a whisper, so faint I can barely catch it. He's still in the dark. I was 3 years into retirement when Melissa called me. She was a former dispatcher, someone I knew from back in the day, sharp, skeptical, always calm under pressure. So when she said she needed to talk off the record, I paid attention. She worked nights now, managing a team at a 24/7 medical call center in Portland. Said something strange was going on with their system. A new hire named Jessica Monroe had been clocking in for the last 6 weeks. Punctual, reliable, never late, but no one had ever actually seen her. Not once. Her ID badge was active. Her logs were in the system. Phone reports filed under her credentials. But when Melissa asked around, none of the other employees recalled speaking to her. Her assigned seat was in the far left corner of the office, Terminal 17. Supposedly, she worked the graveyard shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Melissa asked if I could come take a look. It sounds insane, she said, but I just need someone else to tell me I'm not losing it. I went that same night. The building was corporate bland, linoleum floors, beige walls, flickering fluorescence. Melissa let me in through the side entrance. She looked tired. Said Jessica had clocked in 15 minutes earlier. I checked the system. Sure enough, the timestamp read, Login, Jessica Monroe, Terminal 17, 11:01 p.m. But the chair at Terminal 17 was empty. The monitor was on, a soft white glow casting shadows up the cubicle walls. A headset lay on the desk. The phone line showed as active, but there was no one speaking. Melissa and I listened. Dead air. I asked to see the security footage. That's when things got worse. The cameras covering the lobby and main floor were working fine. You could see every employee arriving, swiping in, walking to their desks. Every employee except Jessica. Between 10:58 p.m. and 11:03 p.m., nothing. The hallway to Terminal 17 remained still. I went back to the desk, moved the mouse. The screen lit up with a log of calls, all tagged under Jessica's ID. Most were normal, brief questions, general inquiries. But one stood out. It was a 47-minute call with no transcription. Marked only as, "Note, stayed late." He was waiting. I clicked the file. The audio was corrupted. No voices. Just static and something underneath. A soft, rhythmic clicking. Almost like breathing. Mechanical. The timestamp said it ended at 4:23 a.m. But Jessica's shift ended at 7. And according to the system, she never logged out. The next day, I dug into employee records. HR had Jessica Monroe listed as hired 6 weeks ago. Background check cleared. Emergency contact blank. Photo ID? Blurry, just enough to make out her face, but the eyes were off. Slightly unfocused, like the lens wasn't aimed quite right. The form was signed, but the handwriting didn't match the system input. Almost like someone else had filled it out for her. I asked Melissa to show me Jessica's hiring paperwork. That's when she froze. She wasn't part of the last hiring round, she said. No one interviewed her. I checked the digital logs. Someone created her profile on a Sunday at 2:13 a.m. HR's closed on weekends. No one on staff had access at that hour. The entry was marked system generated. I visited the desk again the next night. Terminal 17. This time, I brought a portable recorder. At exactly 3:07 a.m., the phone on the desk lit up, ringing, even though no incoming calls were recorded by the system. The headset wasn't picked up, but the call connected anyway. What played wasn't a voice. It was movement, shuffling, a single breath, then a whisper almost mechanical. Still here. I shut off the recorder and stepped away. Melissa later told me that Terminal 17 had a history. Years back, the desk was used by another night shift hire, also named Jessica. Jessica Farrow. First day on the job, she disappeared before sunrise. No trace. The story had been quietly buried by the company. They called it a security lapse and disabled the desk from the system. But someone had reactivated it months ago. Without permission. The terminal was dismantled 2 nights later. Wires removed. Monitor disconnected. Profile deleted. I thought it was over. Until I got a message. Not a phone call. Not an email. Just a sticky note. On the dash of my truck. She's back. Check Terminal 17. I drove to the office. Building was locked, dark. But through the glass I could see it. The monitor at desk 17 glowing. New name on the login. Jessica. No last name. And the activity log? Online. Active. Receiving calls. But the desk? It was never reinstalled. There's no desk at that corner now. Just an empty spot.